Who are your children talking to online can be a massive worry for parents, but have a listen to this story. Now, this is a 17-year-old girl who has been dubbed Poison Ivy. Her real name is apparently Hannah. She's reportedly been targeting shy, socially awkward young men online, asking them to carry out tasks to prove that they love her. Now, from making them write her name on their bodies to even suggesting suicide as the ultimate act of love. So it's a really disturbing story on all sorts of levels, and I think particularly because it seems to be that there is a young woman who is the main protagonist here.
Yeah.
Does that shock you?
Do you know, it does shock me. Right or wrong, I kind of don't think of a young woman being like that. It's something, right or wrong, I've always associated with men, and to be sort of, what was she, 17 or something?
Supposedly,
like that?
yeah.
You know, it's scary. I mean, things have changed so much, and obviously I've got Rafferty, he's only 20 months, but all of this is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. It's definitely the future. And there was a time when, you know, you'd meet friends of your kids and you'd think maybe there's a wrong in there and I don't trust that one around you. Now you don't even know who you're dealing with, and that really worries me. But I just can't quite get my head around it, that somebody so young could be so vicious and so nasty.
In this day and age, how can they not find her and close down that website? With all the technology they've got, how can they not find her and get her offline?
Well, I mean, there's the age-old question, but I mean, the internet is so huge, the world is so huge. I mean, and the depths that are underneath this, Janet. I mean, this is the story that we're getting.
She looks like a baby herself.
Is it the story underneath it? We don't even know that.
When I looked at the picture of Hannah, I thought straight away, I don't believe she's 17. Looking at her, she looks like she might be in the Far East somewhere, maybe in Thailand or something. And then I'm thinking, well, maybe someone's controlling her and giving her a script to write, because maybe the end goal here is to collect these images of young men degrading themselves, and it's blackmail material. So who knows who's driving her? I find it quite hard to believe, really hard to believe, that a woman would do it off her own bat. Although, you know, obviously if we look at appalling crimes, there are quite a lot of examples of women who've been the partners or the accomplices of mass murderers.
Why do we find it so difficult to believe that women would be the kind of main person, you know, to have the power to manipulate rather than being an accomplice?
That's a really good question. I mean, personally, I think she's been driven by somebody else, but I do have a problem imagining that a woman could commit a terrible act entirely of her own volition.
See, maybe it's the flip side of equality. You know, I mean, why should we assume that women would not take the power? And, you know, it's really interesting with the internet world. I was thinking, you know, obviously in a physical sense, a woman is usually less powerful. So if they're in a situation with a male, there's a chance that they are going to physically come off worse. But if you have the internet, then that's taken away. And the woman then has this power, you know, because they're protected, because they're behind a screen, and it's just the mind. It's a mind game, and women are very powerful with their minds.
I think at the end of the day, you get good and bad in everyone. As much as I find it harder to believe whenever a woman commits a horrific crime, I think because of just the nature and the nurture and that kind of thing, at the end of the day, there's good eggs and bad eggs, male or female.
But we've seen it a lot in the past with Myra Hindley and Rosemary West. They always seem to be quite weak women, and the men are the ones that are the evil ones that get them to carry out these acts.
Well, we don't know that they're weak, you see. I rather doubt that either of those women were weak. I think the crimes were committed over an extended period of time. They knew what they were getting into, and I would say that they were equally guilty. They might not be the person that perpetrated the actual crime that caused death, but they must be equally guilty.
But do you think if them two people had never met each other, like Fred and Rosemary, or then they wouldn't have...
Well, I mean, that's an interesting thing. Sometimes it's when people come together, and again, as you were saying, Martine, with the online world, you don't know who your children are getting together with, are beginning to mix with.
But also,
you know.
this woman, if it is a woman, is trading on their neediness and their inability. What's happened to young people is that they go online and they believe that someone who's talking to them is a real friend. And it's so clever now, the way that the person speaking to you online mimics.
Yeah,
they mimic the way that you speak and your speech patterns, because that's all perfectly possible. So if you sound a little bit needy or you are interested in certain things, immediately they synthesize that and give it back to you. So they're giving you what you're looking for. And of course, when we were all kids, we went out in the playground and some kids were nice to us and some were bullies, and we could, just by the touch or the three-dimensional person being there, you could make your own judgment.
Sense as well,
but that has been removed.
If you've enjoyed that, then why not click here for more? And don't forget to subscribe by clicking here, so that you never miss out on the best Loose Women moments.